Hey yo, in this video I'm going to go over my top 10 shortcuts for Ableton Push 2. So if you're familiar with this device and you're ready to go one level deeper to unlock even more potential in this amazing machine, then stay tuned. Hey yo, what's up? It's Alex from My Music, and as always with this channel, it's my mission to help you, the musician, the producer, the artist, produce themselves by developing their mindset, expanding their creativity, and connecting to their inner artist in a deeper way. All right, so in this video, I'm going to go over my top 10 Ableton Push 2 shortcuts to really unlock it to the next level, rapid fire style. And real quick, if you're just getting started with Ableton Push 2 and you're not quite familiar with all of its functionality and modes and stuff, I'll link to another video I did going over all of the main features you'll find in Push 2. So watch that first if you're not familiar with it. But if you are, let's go ahead and jump in to the top 10 tips. All right, so tip number 1 is to hold Shift and hit the play button to return to 1.1.1 in the arrangement view in Ableton. So for example, if we had our playhead here and we were starting playback here, every time we hit the play button, we could hold Shift instead and hit the play button to return right to the beginning of our arrangement. All right, tip number 2 is to hold Delete and touch an encoder to delete automation, and this is in note mode. So you have to make sure that you're in note mode for whatever track you want to delete automation on. So let's go to this drum rack, and first of all, let's program in some automation. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and automate this saturation type on our drum kit and then show you how to delete that afterwards. So let's go ahead and hit record with the automate button on. Notice that this parameter is now automated. All right, so to delete an automation, all you have to do is hold delete and touch the encoder of the automated parameter that you want to delete. Okay, so let's hit play and let's do that. Hold delete, touch the encoder. So I just undid that to bring back the automation we just deleted. And I'll show you another quick trick with automation. And if you're playing around with an automated parameter while playback is occurring, you will override that automation. So for example, if I hit play and I move this parameter that's automated, it's just going to move to the setting I hit. So notice it's automated, but if I touch this, our automation is gone. All right, so let's say we wanted to re-enable that automation. All you have to do is hold Shift and hit the automate button, and it will automate anything that you overrode by touching those parameters. So let's give that a go. Hold Shift, automate, and just like that, our automation has returned. All right, so tip number 3 is to hold mute and press a step or a track or a device to deactivate it without deleting it. So this is super handy if you want to play around with removing things without necessarily deleting them in case you still want to use them later. So let's go to note mode and let's go back to our sequence of our drum kit here. And let's look at what our kick drum is doing. All right, so let's say we want to experiment with removing some of these kick drums without deleting it. All we have to do is hold mute and select the step. And you'll notice that step is grayed out, but it's not deleted. And you can do this even while playback is paused. Just hold mute to bring back or deactivate certain steps. This is super handy if you want to play around with different patterns without necessarily deleting notes. All right, and the same trick goes for tracks or devices on tracks as well. So for example, if we go back to our tracks here and we wanted to, let's say, deactivate this R&B keys, we can just hold mute and touch that track to deactivate that track temporarily. So now we just have our drum kit. If we want to bring it back, just hold mute, touch it again. Easy as that. All right, tip number 4 is to hold select and touch a clip to select it without launching it. And this is super handy for live performances if you want to see what a clip is doing and play around with it without necessarily launching it if it isn't launched. So let's go back to session view, and I'm just going to stop playback of our keys, and we're going to, all right, so let's just play back our drum loop. And let's say I wanted to select this clip without launching it. All I have to do is hold select and then touch this clip. And now this clip is selected. So now if we go to note mode, this clip is displaying for us. And we can play this instrument inside this clip without launching it. All right, tip number 5 is to hold session mode while in note mode to temporarily toggle to session view. So this is super handy if you want to jump over to session view and mess around with your clips really quick and then get back to note mode. So let's say we want to jump over to session view and stop our keys real quick and come right back to this drum kit. All we'd have to do is hold the session button to bring up session view, and as soon as we let go, we're going to instantly come back. This is just a quick little hack to speed up your workflow. So let's give that a go. Let's launch those keys and come right back. All right, so tip number 6 is in the melodic sequencer mode to touch and hold a note to adjust its length, as well as use the page left and right buttons to move along at different parts of your loop. So let's give that a go. So right now we have our key loop, and for now I'm just going to solo this so we can hear our keys. And to get to the sequencer mode, we have to hit the layout button. And let's go for this layout, so we can see each note being played of these chords. Right, so we can see our chords here, the different notes. So let's say we wanted to enhance the length of some of these notes. Well, all we'd have to do is find the note and press it and hold it, and then you can select a different length. So let's do that with these other notes of this chord. So that's super handy to adjust the note lengths of your clips in the sequencer, the melodic sequencer view. Another handy thing you can do from this view is that if you go to your clip, and let's say you had a loop that was longer, so let's go ahead and duplicate this loop. So now it's twice as long, and now we have a 4-bar loop, right? But we only are just being shown 2 bars of information on this page. You'll notice the playhead will keep going to the other page. Right, so how do we get to that page? Well, this is where the page left and right button come in. So now we're looking at the first 2 bars, and this is the second 2 bars of our 4-bar loop. And we can move around with these 2 page buttons, and it's reflected on the screen as well. All right, tip number 7 is to hold shift and adjust the master volume to adjust the cue volume. So the master volume you'll find on the top right, and we can adjust the master volume up here. However, if we hold shift and adjust this, you'll notice that it's adjusting the cue volume. So the cue volume is super handy for listening to your click track, for listening to previews of different instruments, and even previews of clips without your audience hearing it. And you can control the volume of that cue from there. Tip number 8 is to hold shift and hit undo to redo an action. So let's say I deleted this clip and I was like, oh no, I don't want to delete that, so I'm going to hit undo here. But let's say I wanted to redo that undo. All I'd have to do is hold shift and hit undo again to redo that undo, if that isn't confusing. All right, tip number 9 I'm going to say is delete and duplicate Misc, because you can do many things with delete and duplicate on the Push too. Okay, so for example, if you wanted to duplicate a clip, you could hold duplicate, touch a clip, and duplicate it to another place. You can do it with the other one as well. Okay, we can also duplicate tracks. So if we hold duplicate, we can actually select a track and duplicate that. All right, the same goes for delete. So if we go back to session view and we hold delete, we can actually delete clips just by tapping on them. Same thing goes with the track. Let's say we want to delete this track. We could hold delete, select that track, and voila, deleted. All right, and tip number 10 is kind of a bonus tip, but this is to hold shift and select a pad to change the color. So if we hold shift and hit any pad, we can change the color to a preference, and we get this nice rainbow mosaic of heavenly colors. So let's go to purple. Let's say we want to change this one to yellow, orange to red, so on and so forth. And you can also do this within a drum rack. So if we go to note mode, we can change the color of these different pads by holding shift and changing it to our preferences. And hey, if you're just getting started with music production and feeling completely overwhelmed by the whole process, or if you've been at this for a while and are having trouble finishing tracks, or if you just want to get a glimpse inside my personal workflow, I've created a super easy to follow 7-step framework that helps you go from your very first ideas all the way to a finished mix and master. And it's super handy to have around the studio as a printout to help you follow along. So if you're interested in grabbing that, you can find it in the description box below. And that wraps it up for this video. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and hit that subscribe button if you want to stay in tune for the next MetaMind Music transmission. And let me know, how much do you use the push to control Ableton? Do you use it half with the mouse and sometimes you go to the push, or is your push to like your central hub for everything you do? How do you use it in your workflow? I'd love to know more about how you're using it in the comments down below. And until the next time, we'll see you in the next video.